So sorry guys, I've been having some technical issues with my video, but I'm back at it again. It might be a 3-part video, so please be patient with me and get a chance to check out each of the processes that these mushrooms had to go through. So the first one was me battering, showing you guys the science behind how to achieve crispy air fried mushrooms. The second process was me showing you guys how to batter them and shock them in the freezer and season them as well and add oil to them, so when they do go into the air fryer, that some of the salt and oil is able to draw out most of the moisture content of the mushrooms and still allow them to be crispy. So here we go. This is pretty much the wet batter that I was able to put on the mushrooms. So I'm gonna kind of toss this around in here before I go to put them inside my dry batter. So I toss these around a good amount of times. So now I will be adding these mushrooms to my dry batter and give them a nice good toss. I'm adding them to a Ziploc bag where I've already seasoned my spelt flour. This is the easy part, because you're just tossing them around in flour. Just allow enough air to move around when you go to shake them. Since mushrooms are mostly water, you don't want to do this process too long because the mushrooms will continue to absorb the batter. So I'm gonna drop them off into my strainer after I get them all nicely coated. Which they all are nicely coated. And the next process will be spreading them out on the baking sheet so they won't stick together. A baking sheet and also some wax paper. You don't want to handle them too risky because mushrooms are really wet and we want to give this batter a chance to stick to them. So without them sticking together. So this is how your battered mushrooms will look after you batter them. Like it has a nice coat of batter on it. And we're going to toss these into the deep freezer. Cover them with more wax paper so some of this moisture can lock into the batter. And then I'll be back with them tossed into the air fryer and you can see how crispy they look. Since I battered my last mushrooms, I have quite a bit of moisture left over. Well, quite a bit of mushrooms and the, what did I call this? The batter got really liquidy. So these are gonna be my extra crispy mushrooms right here. I'm just gonna add some more flour, some spelt flour to these before I go to toss them into my dry batter. I'm gonna go ahead and season this since this is a new dry batter. Go ahead and season it a little bit with all the same seasonings that I used in part 1 and 2 video. Some cayenne pepper. And like I said, I had to add some more flour just to thicken this up some. These are gonna be my extra crispy mushrooms right here. I'm gonna add a little bit more flour to this. As you guys can see, the batter is becoming really thick. And I'm gonna also add the leftover flour from the last batch. Kind of just glaze it over to give it like some breadcrumbs on top. And sprinkle the rest, the bigger portions. As you can see, it looks like breadcrumbs on top. And I'm gonna scoop this up over into my dry batter. It's getting a little messy because this is my extra crispy version. So I'm getting a lot of this batter in here. And the last of the last mushrooms. And this is going to be really wet, so get some early. Looks like I'm gonna need some more flour because this is really wet. I got my hands a little dirty on this one. I know these may seem like just your regular battered mushrooms, but it was a process to get these mushrooms the way that they are. As you can see, it's a nice coating of spelt flour and berganzo bean flour on the outside of these to get these to fry up really nicely in the air fryer. So I have a few videos that's going to show you guys how to achieve these mushrooms. And next we'll be up with my air fried version. I'm back to show you guys the full effect on how I put these mushrooms into the air fryer so they can achieve their golden crispy layers on the outside. I just put a little grapeseed oil in here, and I have my little brush that I'm gonna brush the inside of my air fryer with, just so it won't stick. And now I'm gonna lay my mushrooms in here. You just don't have them touching. As long as they're not touching, they're fine. Like just a nice little distance apart from each other. And I just load them up in here. Mind you, these mushrooms I have not completely frozen. We'll put them in the freezer for them to freeze just yet. But this is how your mushroom nuggets are going to be when you take them out of the freezer. And this is how they look inside my little air fryer. And I'm gonna just glaze a little oil on top. Just a little bit, just to give it some color, not much. And so that these buddies won't stick together. Well, these bad boys won't stick together. They gonna be good. I'll let my daughter do the taste test, but that's how they look. I'll be back once they're golden brown. Well, I'm frying up my mushrooms in my air fryer. I didn't get a chance to show you guys what temperature setting I put it on because my hands are so messy, as you can see. But it's been in here probably for about 4 minutes. So I'm gonna take a look at them because I put the temperature on the highest temperature, which is 400. So we can go ahead and shock my mushrooms and keep the batter attached to the mushrooms, since the mushrooms and the inside has so much moisture. This is the science behind this. This is just not as simple as just battering up some mushrooms and tossing them into the air fryer. Because a lot of people complain about how it doesn't taste the same as deep fried mushrooms. But I'm here to tell you that you can achieve whatever you need to achieve. And here we go. Let's take a look. So my mushrooms look like they're cooking up well. As you can see, the moisture is starting to leak out, some of them on the other side, but the top is cooked pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these bad boys over and toss them back in here. I was able to flip these over. Maybe I should have gave it a little more time in here because some of the batter became detached. But most of these, the batter is still on them. And now they're going to go for another round of cooking until they're completely crispy. I'm going to continue to cook these at 400. I'm here with my mushrooms. Leah, come taste it. You're going to show everybody how my mushrooms taste. They're supposed to be crispy. So, try one.
This one.
Okay.
This one looks really good.
Come on.
It's hot.
I'll try one. Nice and crispy. Finished product.